Hey there, explorers of culture and seekers of knowledge. You ever walk down a street in Japan and think to yourself, wait a minute, where's all the litter? Well, you're not alone. Japan is so clean, it's almost like stepping into a different world. But why is that? Stick around as we dive deep into the immaculate heart of Japan. You may think that cleanliness in Japan is a result of modern practices or laws. But to really understand this phenomenon, we need to go back, way back, to ancient times. You see, in Japan, cleanliness has been more than a habit, it's been a deeply rooted cultural value. This obsession with cleanliness is as old as the spiritual traditions of the country. The concept of purity, or kage, is deeply embedded in Shintoism, which is one of Japan's earliest religions. In Shinto beliefs, both physical and spiritual cleanliness go hand in hand. The act of cleaning is not merely to remove dirt but to drive away evil spirits and negative energy. The practice of misogi, the Shinto ritual of purification by washing the entire body, is still observed today. People often cleanse themselves before entering a sacred Shinto shrine. Now, let's jump from ancient spirituality to another cultural gem, Zen Buddhism. Zen monks meticulously clean their temples, and there's even a specific meditative practice devoted to cleaning, known as samu. Through samu, monks engage in sweeping, scrubbing, and other forms of cleaning to help them achieve a state of mindfulness. But the historical context doesn't just stop at religious practices. During the Edo period, Japan developed an extensive sewage system, well ahead of many other countries. This not only helped with sanitation but also instilled a sense of communal responsibility towards cleanliness. Cleanliness was seen as a form of social etiquette, an act of courtesy towards your neighbors and fellow countrymen. It was so ingrained that it was common for samurai to bathe regularly, and even the architecture was designed for cleanliness with features like tatami mats, which are easier to clean and less likely to accumulate dust. Even during times of great upheaval and change, like the Meiji era and the post-war reconstruction, the core cultural value of cleanliness remained steadfast. When Japan opened its doors to the West, it adopted various technologies and practices, but the dedication to cleanliness was one area where Japan had its own set of unwavering standards. Today, modern Japan may have high-tech toilets and advanced waste management systems, but the roots of these innovations lie in its rich cultural history, where cleanliness was and is not just a practice, but a way of life. One of the most awe-inspiring practices that sets Japan apart when it comes to cleanliness is the fact that children clean their own schools. That's right. No janitors or custodial staff sweeping the hallways or cleaning the toilets. It's all done by the kids themselves. And this isn't a one-off event or a special occasion. This is a regular part of the school curriculum, known as osoji. Now, you might be thinking, why put the burden of cleaning on children? Isn't that a bit harsh? But this practice is about so much more than cleanliness. It's actually an education in responsibility, respect, and teamwork. The process starts as early as elementary school and continues throughout the educational journey. The idea is that when children participate in cleaning their environment, they not only gain practical skills but also develop a sense of ownership and respect for their surroundings. But let's delve a bit deeper into how it works. Typically, the children are divided into small groups, and each group is assigned a specific area to clean. This way, they learn to collaborate and communicate effectively. They use basic cleaning supplies like brooms, dustpans, and cloths, and they literally clean everything, from classrooms to corridors to restrooms. This practice also transcends social hierarchies. Whether you're the class president or the shy kid who sits at the back, everyone cleans. Now, here's the most intriguing part. This practice of cleaning schools by children has a profoundly long-lasting impact on their behavior and attitude towards cleanliness as they grow into adults. Imagine being conditioned from a young age to value cleanliness so deeply that it becomes second nature. It's no wonder then that you seldom see litter on the streets of Japan. Interestingly, this isn't just a recent phenomenon or a quirky educational experiment. It's a time-honored tradition that goes back generations. Parents and grandparents of today's students likely participated in the same rituals during their schooling years. So, it's a collective cultural memory that continually reinforces itself, making cleanliness a shared societal value. And it's not just in schools. This training extends into the home as well. Children are encouraged to apply the same principles of cleaning and organization in their living spaces, which means these values are continually reinforced both in school and at home. When such practices are instilled from a young age and are upheld by both educational institutions and families, you get a society that genuinely values and maintains cleanliness. Now that we've talked about the historical roots and how children are educated about cleanliness, let's shift our focus to public behavior and facilities in Japan. Ever notice that it's surprisingly hard to find a trash can on the streets in Japan? That might sound counterintuitive. You might think, if there are no trash cans, wouldn't that encourage littering? But the reality is quite the opposite. In Japan, people are accustomed to carrying their own trash until they find a place to dispose of it properly. This practice is a carryover from earlier times, when people would travel long distances and were expected to carry their litter back home. You'll often see people holding onto their empty cans, wrappers, or bottles until they get home or find a recycling bin. In a society where cleanliness is deeply valued, even a single act of littering is considered taboo. But let's move on to something fascinating: Japanese public toilets. These are a marvel in terms of cleanliness and technology. From heated seats to multiple flushing options designed to conserve water, the attention to detail is nothing short of amazing. And remember, these aren't just in fancy malls or high-end establishments. Even the most basic public toilets maintain a high standard of cleanliness. This again underlines how deeply ingrained this value is in the society. And let's not forget about the meticulous sorting of waste for recycling. In Japan, waste separation is not just recommended, it's often mandatory. From paper to plastics to metals, every little thing has its own category. In some localities, you'll find detailed guides on how to separate your trash, sometimes involving as many as 9 different categories. Failure to sort your garbage properly might even result in it not being collected, making the stakes pretty high for residents. Now, another marvel that captures the essence of public cleanliness in Japan is the custom of removing one's shoes before entering someone's home, and sometimes even in certain businesses and offices. This practice not only keeps the indoors clean but also symbolizes leaving the impurities of the outside world at the doorstep. In many homes, you'll even find slippers designated solely for use in the bathroom to avoid contaminating the rest of the living space. All these practices contribute to the exceptional cleanliness you experience in Japan, which is not just a product of laws or policies but a matter of cultural pride and personal identity. Every individual feels accountable for maintaining this standard, making it a community-wide effort. In a world where we're increasingly concerned about environmental degradation, pollution, and public health, Japan stands out as a shining example of a society that has woven cleanliness into its cultural DNA. From the time-honored traditions dating back to the Shinto beliefs to the modern-day practices taught in schools, cleanliness is more than just a virtue in Japan, it's a way of life. It's not just about keeping the streets free of litter or maintaining spotless public facilities. It's about a collective sense of responsibility, a commitment to social harmony, and a deep-rooted respect for nature, other people, and oneself. When you see an entire society adhering to these principles, you can't help but feel a sense of awe and a glimmer of hope that perhaps, we too can adopt some of these practices in our own lives and communities. So, the next time you marvel at the pristine streets of Tokyo, the immaculate temples of Kyoto, or even the orderly queues at a local bus stop, remember that what you're witnessing is the result of centuries of cultural evolution, years of education, and a daily commitment by each and every citizen. Before we go, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because our next video is going to be an intriguing deep dive into Sakoku, the period when Japan closed its borders and how they eventually opened up again. You won't want to miss it. Thank you for joining us on this fascinating journey through the culture of cleanliness in Japan. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay clean, stay curious, and stay tuned.